Hello. Hi, this is Sarah from Neuro Travels. I will be holding this live Q&A session today. Excuse my voice, I'm a little bit sick these days, but it's getting better. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes so people can actually come online and join this session with me. So I'm just gonna probably start talking a little bit about me and introduction to the topic. I'm gonna mainly talk about studying abroad, finding labs abroad, and some challenges and tips and tricks, and whatever questions you have for me, I'm happy to answer in this live session. For me it is 10 p.m. in this Monday morning. Hello. Hi. So I know in the West Coast in the US, for some of you it's Sunday evening, so for me it's Monday morning. So it would be fun if you tell me where you're from, maybe what time it is for you, and if you're studying abroad, I would be interested in your story as well, or if you have any question, what challenges you're facing or where you're from. So let me know in the comments while I start talking about me a little bit. So just a little introduction to myself and my story. I was born and grew up in the very north of Italy, where we have Italian and Austrian culture mixed due to history. So I grew up with two cultures and two languages, which I always found to be a big advantage and very cool. And then after my school, I decided that I wanted to do science. I was very interested in biology, especially evolution and anthropology. So I decided to go to Vienna to do my bachelor's there, and I did a classic bachelor's of biology. Hi everyone. I'm just giving a short introduction to myself. Maybe let me know where you're from, or if you're studying abroad as well, post it in the comments. I'll be interested in where you're from or what you're doing. Or any questions that you have, obviously. So after I finished my bachelor's in Vienna, I was kind of feeling like I needed another challenge and some sort of change in location. Even though I loved the city and I loved my friends there, and I actually was contemplating if I should change location for my master's or not. And then I came across an article online, just random, that said how good it was to change your location for the masters, and you should absolutely do it, even though it might be easier to stay where you already are and where you're settled, where you already know the system and your friends. And that was my last little drop that made me do it and made me change location, and I decided to go to Zurich, or apply for the Zurich University. You'd like to turn my camera. Should I turn my camera? Okay. I'm just afraid that you can't hear me properly if I do this, but I can try. You can let me know. I'm sideways. Okay. Yeah, I hope this is better. Can you still hear me if I do that? Is this good? I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? No? Okay, better. I hope the microphone is now not influenced by this. No worries. Yeah, let me know if anything is weird in this session. Perfecto, cool. Okay, so yeah, let me know where you're from, if you're studying abroad as well, if you have any questions. And I'll just continue with my story for now. So yeah, I applied for Zurich University, and I surprisingly got in without any big problems. I did have to send a lot of my my documents and my paperwork, and so US. Hey, from the US. I guess you have Sunday evening right now. For me, it's Monday morning here in Australia. Yeah, and so I changed university, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. Even though I really missed my friends, I loved Vienna. I still have friends there. I have friends that moved away from there, but it wasn't easy. It was also not easy to do the first move to Vienna, but it was definitely worth it. And yeah, one of my core tips will always be to everyone, just do it, even though it's hard and there are some challenges and it might be a bit scary. At least do this one location change if you have the possibility for any of your degrees or for an internship. It really has heaps of advantages. Oh, I have UK here in Morocco. How great. Awesome. Hey guys. I hope it's not a weird time for you with all these different time zones. Probably for everyone still Sunday. I'm here in the future in Australia. It's always a bit funny. It's tricky to talk to my family back home and friends as well because of the time zones. But yeah, and anyways, I had a great time at in Zurich. I had a lot of new friends. The university was great. It's great. It was great to go through this challenge. It wasn't always easy. I had to Zurich University is a really good university, and I changed from doing mostly anthropology to doing a neuroscience degree in my master's in Zurich, and so I felt I was a bit behind, and I had to just follow up on a lot of topics and a lot of just basic knowledge, to be honest, about the brain and about neuroscience. So I didn't have always the greatest marks, but then I just repeated courses, and it just taught me a lot to go through this challenge. And thank you. And then after that, to be honest, I had a few opportunities to do PhD studies. I had offers, and at the beginning it's always very charming that you have the PhD offers and you feel very special. But the lab obviously invested a lot in you, and if you're a good worker and have a good brain for science and have a good work ethic, then your lab will definitely be interested in keeping you for a PhD. I would say if they have the money, depending on the country, it's always a little bit different. But yeah, I felt like it wasn't right for me to jump straight away into a PhD. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted it. And that's also one of the life choices that I do not regret, to take my time and think about this. A lot of people I know just jump straight away into a PhD, and I don't want to advocate not doing studies, or don't want to advocate for not doing a PhD. But I, for myself, was very happy that I took this time for me and did not straight away take the offer that just didn't feel perfect for me. And I went to another interview, it just also didn't feel perfect for me, and it felt like a lot of pressure to do it straight away. And I felt like I needed a break, and I needed to see some different techniques and some more labs to really find out if I wanted to stay in academia or not, if it would make sense for me or not. Because you invest a lot of hard work for a PhD and a lot of years with not that much money, which is not always the most important thing in life, but it is hard to work so much for very little money and little positive reinforcement. It's a very hard thing to do. So yeah, take your time and be sure if you want to, if you ever think about it. That's my opinion. And what I did for this is then through contacts, so my master supervisor in Switzerland knew some people in Australia, in Melbourne, and I was always keen to go to Australia. And he gave me the email of a guy he used to work with. He's my boss now. He's the head of pharmacology here at Melbourne University. So, and I had planned a travel in New Zealand anyways after my master's. So that was perfect for me, and I sent this email. So yeah, another big help is always to have contacts, to have a good work ethic, work hard, so people will give you good references and will give you emails of other guy who knows the guy. It is funny, but it is really how science especially sometimes works. There's a lot of just getting context, networking. It's one of our most important things to do. And if I didn't have this email, I don't think I would have necessarily gotten this position I'm in today, because my lab is very focused. I see they hire people a lot also according to their grades and their marks and their university. And to be honest, I did not have the greatest marks. I was maybe average, maybe a little bit above average sometimes, but really not amazing. And yeah, it helped me that someone they knew was a scientist who did great scientific work, and I worked for him and he referred me. They had the trust in taking me on, and I basically came here to Australia as a work and holiday traveler, and I wanted to stay for a few months for free. And so I worked for 5 months or so for free, which was also not easy because all my savings, I worked next to university in Zurich for a bit, so I had my savings, but at some point these are also over if you want to live in such an expensive country as Australia and do some traveling as well. So yeah, what I basically did for 5 or 6 months was have my bike that I got for free from my boss, which was very, very nice. I have two, so that's her. She gave me a bike for free, which was my biggest luck. So everything I was doing was just biking to work, doing my work even on weekends and going back. So yeah, that was my life for 5 months. And I really enjoyed it, but then I wanted to quit and to just find another work and then go for some more travels. I always thought it was temporary for me to be in Australia, but then given that I had done these few months of working hard without any payment and show them that my work ethic is good, and they offered me to stay for a part-time salary as a research associate, and the salary at Melbourne Uni is still fairly good, so even a part-time salary was great for me at that moment. So I was very glad to take it on, also because it gave me the opportunity to finish my project and to learn some new techniques, which I was after. So I came here and did stuff that I already knew, which was mouse behavior. I was good at training mice, so they also made me train mice and make decision tasks and stuff like that. But I was keen to learn something new, and so they offered me to do more of another technique called immunohistochemistry and microscopy, and that for me sounded amazing and new, and being proper in the lab and not working with animals but doing proper tissues and working with brains, and that was very exciting for me, so I was glad to take this on. And after that, I got this huge, big, amazing opportunity to get the full-time position for a maternity leave, which is now nearly a year, and it's nearly over. Yeah, that was amazing. So through that, I just kept staying in Melbourne. It's a great city, and it caught me, and I couldn't leave anymore. And then I also had this great job, and yeah, that was kind of my story. And now I'm still here in Melbourne. I still work in the same job, and I have a great visa, which is also one of the challenges, especially in a country like Australia, where it's really hard to get a good visa. And yeah, I want to make the most out of it, even though I don't know yet what's happening because of the visa situation, and the visa is very tightly connected to my work, and I have to see how the future of my work is gonna end up being, just mainly because of funding reasons, and because the maternity leave I'm replacing basically is coming back, so I have to see where I fit in. But so yeah, that was quite a long introduction to my story, a bit windy story. So yeah, I'm still not doing a PhD, and I had great opportunities here to talk some very great mentors and minds, and it was amazing to see a new institute and a new way of science being handled, and yeah, it was just a very great very great opportunity for me also to talk to various great minds that are working in academia but also have startups in the US and all that sort of things, and that they basically told me great questions coming in here. So yeah, they basically told me that if I already think this way and I'm not sure about the PhD and I don't want to stay in academia necessarily and do the classic path, it is, I'm just going to write quickly down some notes for this question so I don't miss them. There we go. Because they're great questions and I don't want to miss them. So yeah, so that's definitely one of my biggest tips. Do the change, do the move. It is challenging, especially financially. I'm aware of that. I always had it relatively very easy financially, I have to say, but I'm aware that it is one of the most trickiest things to do. Maybe strategically search for jobs next to your uni if it's possible, or in your holidays, to build up your savings so you can live in another country a little bit, at least for free. And as soon as you have good references and a good internship once and a good work ethic, which is one of the most important things to find great jobs later on outside of academia, as I said, the contacts and references are one of the most important things to have next to good grades. Depending on uni, you need to have the good grades. Yeah, so I a little bit lost my track here because I really want to answer these questions. So one of them was about the scholarships in Australia. So in Australia, for foreign students, there are definitely scholarships available. I know especially about the PhD situation. I didn't do a proper study like a master's here. I know that the master degree, to do it here, is very expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. It's $10,000s of dollars just to do a master's degree, which I assume you can somehow get a scholarship for as well. But yeah, unfortunately for the master and those kind of undergrad degrees, I'm not entirely sure, but I can definitely look it up if you wanna know more and remind me. If you're gonna go to my channel, which is called Neuro Travels. So neuro like neuroscience, and then travel. Because I did all this travel, that's my channel. If you come and send me a private message there, remind me if you want to know more, if I'm missing something. But regarding PhDs, it is you can definitely get a scholarship in Australia. It is I know a lot of people from all over the world that live here, which is a great part of science, and my friendship group is so international. It's really cool. I love it. And I have people from all over Europe, Italy, Belgium, Germany. There is one of my friends from Iran, some people from the US, and then we have everything. A lot of Australians, New Zealand as well, China. I have quite a few Chinese friends, Malaysia, everywhere. It's really great. And you in Australia here, it is very, very important that you have good grades. For example, here, I could not get a scholarship here because if they translate my marks from Switzerland to here, it's just not enough to get a scholarship. So you have to have very high grades in Australia. It's different in every country. So if you already know that you would be interested in doing a PhD here, strategically maybe work towards it and really try to achieve that grade level that you need to get the scholarship. And you get a scholarship that it's not very high, but you can kind of live from it. And yeah, so that scholarship in Australia, if you don't have the marks like me, you either would need to decide to do it without getting paid, which is absolutely crazy hard, unless you have a lot of savings or help from your family. You can do little jobs next to it potentially. That's what some PhD students do here, because the scholarship is not amazing, but it is hard. Or you find a lab that is really, really wealthy compared to other labs that has a lot of funding. Some people will pay for you as a PhD student. Then you probably need to be outstanding and have great marks and great references. So yeah, tip of the day as usual is always work hard and definitely try to get the best marks as possible, always to leave your opportunities open. But there's always some sort of possibility. It's to get into it, especially Australia. It is hard with visas and it is tricky, but the scholarships are available. And another great question that I wrote down here, so yeah, keep them coming if you have any questions. How the politics... Thank you so much. I will keep this live session afterwards in the Addictive Science homepage on the story, so it will be available 24 hours, and I will record it on the screen as well, so you can come back and look it up later on their homepage. And I will try to answer your question as well now. But if you have to go, I'll see you later, or text me on my channel as well if there's something unclear you want to ask more later. So I got the great questions of how politics affect your science and religion and all that sort of stuff that you do. And it's a great question. It's a very tricky question, but it is definitely a reality that there is a lot of influence of both politics and things like culture, religion in the country where you do science in. So in an ideal world, science would be equal everywhere, and science would be open for everyone, and science, the big goal of scientific work would be to add knowledge to the big pool of knowledge and make it accessible to everyone, so that slowly over decades we are achieving a lot together. And solving some puzzles like the brain a little bit more, which is only possible if we work together and if science is open and accessible for everyone everywhere. But unfortunately it's not that easy everywhere yet, and it's not reality, unfortunately. And so it definitely has a big influence where you are, what you can do in science, especially things like ethics are very different in each country. So in some countries you can't even do different experiments according to what laws and legal aspects that are present in the country. And also politics probably really affects the way science is going, and also how much funding potentially science has in that country. So that is very, very much affecting the scientific work. And I'm really, really glad that I started this online channel, that the science communication that I'm doing, because I'm getting more aware of this as well. I have people texting from all over the world. I had contact with a student in Africa that would have liked to study in Europe, and for him it was hard to get there, and he asked me for some information about this, and I set him in contact with a good friend of mine back in Italy who knows some stuff about scholarships for African students in the European Union. So this is, for example, great to make me aware of the problems that are out there, and that is really, really different in the countries. I have friends here from Iran, or friends that text me, students who text me on my channels from Iran, making me aware of the problems just simply of ordering things that they need for their science, that they have restrictions in, even just getting the most simple materials that they need to finish their masters or their projects, which is very different from here. For example, we're very privileged in countries like Australia, Switzerland, and everywhere where I studied. In the US, I've never done science in the US, but I think it's again a very different system. It's maybe even a bit more liberal in as what they can do, and so as far as I know. But if someone from the US is here, please feel free to correct me. It is very tricky, and how you navigate, I think it is very hard. It is definitely something, if you would like to influence, is that you have to consider, if you go and vote, for example, it starts with the most basic things like voting politicians, and if you wanna influence this part of how science develops or how much funding goes in there, it's already, if you have the privilege to vote, already important that you maybe put this aspect into how to choose your politicians, what they're going to do with education, and what they are going to do with science and the funding of science. And I think it is tricky, but we definitely we should push it into the right direction. And I think that's what's very, very cool about this science communication, and that that Instagram and things like social media can, in this case, it's also, social media is also not great for you. I'm very aware of this, and I'm not a big fan in general, actually, but that's what we can use social media and communication in the good way for. And it's really great that it's the opportunity here, that we are getting aware of this. There are great science communicators that are leading the field, in my opinion that I followed from day one, like Science Sam. Go and look her up, you probably know her. She does a lot of work and information on these topics as well, accessibility and how to drive politics, but also drive. I think it's a big part coming from us scientists to do this information communication, so the public knows, because the public needs to drive this as well, needs to give some more trust back into science and scientists everywhere around the world, and needs to understand what we are doing and understand how our world works, and where we use our money and where their money goes into, how we use it, and just counterbalance a lot of negative and very wrong information that's out there in the internet. And Sam, for example, does a lot of stem cell research, and there's just a lot of wrong information out there, and also a lot of companies that are just using science, wrong science, to promote and advertise their products, and in a very, very wrong way, and trying to sell products to people that they're even putting into their bodies that are not even scientifically making sense yet, and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a big part. The public who needs to drive it. It's a big part also that us scientists, we have to be more open. We have to open a conversation, which we are on the way of doing, which I found great, and what all this science communication is for, and that you can ask questions and that we answer. And we're getting aware of problems and we're working towards changing that. So yeah. Tricky question, but yeah, I think we all need to do our part, especially the scientific community itself. Yeah, so that was a little bit off my road of my topic in general, but it's very close to my heart, so I got a little bit distracted here. But it was a great question and tricky question. So yeah, keep them coming. I'll just have a quick check on my time. Here. Okay, we have more than half an hour already, which is amazing. So let me see what I wanted to talk about as well. I think I went through finding a lab abroad. Definitely, yeah, contact's important, good references, as I said, and if you ever want to find a lab abroad without being in the country, I would say, if you don't have someone who can lead you towards a lab, as it was in my case, I was very lucky, potentially just go through the university sites, I would say, and just see which lab would interest you, what they're doing, what their topic is. Go maybe read some of their publications, and then just go and email. Just email a lot of people that would be interested in working in, ideally for free, because then you have more chances for them to take you on in the first place, to show off your work ethic, and then you potentially have a chance of getting a paid job or a scholarship in that country. And don't lose your motivation if you don't get replies, because professors are very, very, very busy people, and a lot of them would just not reply because a lot of them would just not have the opportunity to take you on, and then in a lot of cases they don't give you a very long email about how sorry they are, because they are just so overwhelmed with their work. So in a lot of cases they get hundreds of emails a day and a lot of requests, so they wouldn't reply. But yeah, don't lose your motivation over this, and just keep being open. The more open you are in what country you're going into, or what field you're gonna work in, the easier obviously it's gonna be to potentially find something. And if you can, maybe also ask postdocs in the lab, students in the lab, that you could email, and not only professors. If it's a lab that you really want to go into, but you just cannot get a reply from a busy professor who has a huge lab to run and some other 1,000 things to do, maybe go a lower level and text a postdoc or something, send an email, and see if they can reply to you, or what is important for the lab. If you know already in advance, definitely go about it a bit strategically and find out what the field needs and what the lab does that you want to go into. For me, it was more going with the flow and just seeing what's coming up, and it just kind of everything happened. I always thought it was lucky, and I always say it's a lot of luck that I have, but people keep telling me it's also a lot of hard work that you do. So yeah, that's the easiest thing to be successful, is just showing off that you genuinely like the field and like the work, and then it will work out somehow. So yeah, I said a few times, definitely do move and do the change. So the benefits of this, the benefits will definitely be the obvious one that come with every travel, that you learn about a new culture, get new friends from all over the world, which is hard because you're gonna miss them all over the world as well, but you have them all over the world as well. You will definitely learn a lot about yourself, and seeing science, seeing cultures and everything at different angles, and you will just in general be more open and just learn a lot of things, and that's what it is all about, I think. And in addition, you will polish your CV, you will have another language that you know potentially much better after your internship or after your degree in another country. And so yeah, I only see positive only see benefits in there. But as I said, definitely financially is probably one of the biggest challenges that I can think of. And if you love being close to your family and friends, that is definitely also one of the big challenges. But for a short amount of time, I think it's always good. It will always benefit you, and even if you don't like it, even stay a quite good amount of time. So not only 2 or 3 months, because then you might just getting into the flow after a few months. So if you can do a year, go into a year, and even if you realize it's not for you and it's hard to be abroad, or it's hard for you to be away from your family and friends and you don't like it, that is also a good thing to know and a good challenge, and you had the experience, and you will always be able to return back home and stay there and be happy there with the knowledge that you just don't like it. And the same, I would say, especially with the research experience before starting the PhD, it's always very good to take your time and to think about what you want instead of instead of just jumping into it. Cool. So yeah, I've had in my title also a few tips that I wanted to give. Stay hydrated in Australia. So to find, for example, friends, just join. The easiest for me was always to join the university groups. There's always a lot going on, especially in science and academia, that you can join. Or definitely your hobbies, sports. Sports is always the biggest, the best to find new friends, new mates, and hang out with people of your age and that already have a same hobby and same interests. There are meetup groups that you can go to, so it's definitely not hard to find new friends. I was a bit anxious years ago as well, and even if when I came here to Australia, I definitely because I was quite broke at the time and just biked to work and back. The only thing I was going back home and reading, and I was enjoying having a room for myself, and I didn't make any contacts or a lot of contacts until about 5 months later or something like that, because I'm also quite an introvert sometimes, even though even my friends would say, what, you're not, but for me it definitely was a lot harder to go up to people and be open, but that changed a lot through the moving as well, because it forced me to make new friends. If you want friends, you just have to go up, and you see it's not that hard, and your anxiety kind of just decreases over time. Definitely find housemates, I would say. Just go into a shared house. Don't look for your own place or something isolated. Just force yourself to go into a random new big house with a lot of people. They will already be good new people, and through them you'll have friends of your housemates. Definitely also a good tip to jump into the new country more easily. Visas is an important point as well, so make up your mind as early as possible, especially in things like Australia, or even Europe. I'm not sure how it is in Europe for a non-European citizen, because I have a European citizenship, so for me it was easy to move around there, although Switzerland is not in the union, so it was tricky as well. As soon as my master finished and as soon as my work after the master was over, I also had to leave Switzerland, even though I'm European. And that's a lot of what I wanted to talk to you about. I think I am through, and I had most of my points. I have some of my notes here that I made yesterday. So yeah, if you have any more questions, pop them in now, or let me know where you're from, where you're tuning in from, or if you're being abroad as well. And if you see this later while I'm not live anymore, feel free to send me messages on my Neuro Travels account. Can I comment here myself? Let me see, I'll write you down. I'm not sure, you can probably not see this afterwards when I'm not live anymore. For everyone who's here now, I'll just post my name here. Neuro Travels. So yeah, send me private messages there in case you missed this session and have a question for me. Something I haven't talked about here yet. So yeah, let me know where you're from, if you study abroad as well, if you have any more questions or anything. I'll check if I missed talking about something in here on my notes. Otherwise, I'll probably have to go to my actual work and do some science stuff. I'm currently writing hybrid, writing a paper, writing about the project that I started here. Hey Ted, it's my partner. How are you? Are you taking a break from work and watching this? Yeah, so I'm currently writing about the project that I started as an internship actually, and now I'm getting a publication out of this, hopefully. So that is pretty cool, and is another plus that I can take from this opportunity here, definitely. Hey, now all my friends are coming in here. Are you guys not supposed to work? Well, I am supposed to work too, so what I studied with the mice over the past years. So I was doing mainly behavior. So it's called Operant Conditioning that I did a lot, that you might have heard of. It's very much known as the Pavlovian conditioning, and known with the story of of the dog that was ringing, was salivating already when he heard the tone, and was conditioned to this tone when he got the food. And you might have heard the story. I didn't really properly explain it. I'm very bad at multitasking. So yeah, I basically did develop different tests, or had a lot of tests that I did with mice, where I basically, mostly over several months, put them into the operant chambers, they're called, so boxes where they work in, and where we can present them with levers, for example, or tones or stuff like that. And we're trying to train them up to do some certain behaviors, to learn about the lever pressing, and the levers usually give them some reward, so they like to press the levers for the reward. And then we can ask them several questions about how observe their behavior, and how they decide things, or what they prefer doing, or how certain environmental changes would influence that behavior. In my master's, I did work with anxiety behavior, for example, and here in Australia mainly with motivation for effortful reward, so reward behavior, and so mice that were genetically modified versus wild type mice, so mice that were not modified, and just looking at their behavior towards reward, motivation, and also cognitive, more complex tasks like probability learning, and if they were cognitively impaired, these models, for example, that are a genetic model of Alzheimer's disease or frontotemporal dementia, and investigated these kind of behaviors in the mice especially. That was my mouse work. And in the end, the goal was also to look into their brains, do some microscopy on their brain tissue as well, to see where the changes that we found in the behavior came from in the brain. Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, that's kind of fun. MD. No, I did a master's so I have a MSc, a Master's of Science, in neuroscience. So I finished my master's in Switzerland, and then I stopped doing degrees, and I went to do this internship to find out if I wanted to do more as a PhD. Med school necessary for scientific research. I don't think it's necessary for scientific research. It really depends what kind of scientific research you would like to do. So if you do the classical academia and the degrees that are not med degrees, then you'll be more in a university environment, or can go into industry later, for example, and work with the classic science models. You can work kind of with humans sometimes in neuroscience. More likely will be that you would work with animal models, for example, or tissues in wet lab and things like that. Ideally, I would dream of having both, so a med degree and a degree in science. If you can combine those two, that's very powerful, and you can do probably very cool things. You can do cool research because you're a clinician, and then also know all the theory and the academic part of science. So the combination of the two is really cool, but it's definitely not necessary to do scientific research. But if you wanna study humans and I think do more research in those kind of things clinically, then medicine is definitely more the way to go, I would say. Because in science we are not really allowed to do a lot of interferences with humans. We do what you can do is fMRI studies about kind of behavior as well, or what brain areas light up in the machines if you work with the humans. But yeah, if you want to go deeper into those kind of things, then definitely medicine might be easier way to go. Easier, it's not the easy way, but easier to reach that goal. But if you want to do proper scientific research, definitely not necessary. Let me know where you're from, guys, and what time it is for you. For me, it is now 10:52. So soon as 11. I think as late as 11, I would probably have to end the session. So there's 8 more minutes to spare if you guys have questions. Otherwise, if you miss the session, as I said before, send me messages on my channel. Or let me know where you're from. Oh, Seattle. Hello to the US. You probably have... What time do you have? Sunday evening. Midnight. Oh, wow. Thanks for being here with me and so late at night. That's amazing. I'm probably in the future for a lot of people. I'm already Monday, close to midday, so I'm nearly 12 hours ahead, which is always funny. Let me see if I missed any things I wanted to chat to you about. 4 p.m. midnight, 4 p.m. I have 10 a.m. 11 a.m. all over the world. That's so cool that you guys are here. I love that aspect about science communication. And yeah, I'm really happy to have this opportunity. Monday midnight now. Yeah. A new week. Are you excited? New motivation. Cool. Neuroscience is a great field. Why did you choose Switzerland? Oh, why did I choose Switzerland? That's a good question. Why did I? So I remember after finishing school, I was already very interested in going to Switzerland because, first of all, it's relatively close to where I live. I'm from the very north of Italy, so it's kind of abroad, but still you can go home if you want for a weekend if something is going on at home. And it is definitely a country with one of the best education systems, I would think, at least around where I live, and definitely has great universities and cool degrees, and I was really interested in it. But for my bachelor's, I was a bit too when I say that, I was a bit too afraid, to be honest, to go alone by myself, because there was no one I knew going to Switzerland to do a degree. But quite a few people went to Austria. That's where a lot of people where I'm from. Buonasera. It was nearly correct. It's just a U after the B. Buona, I think. I'm confused. My English is so strong right now that my second language, which is Italian, is definitely terrible. And yeah, so that's why Switzerland, mainly the degree, the closeness to my home, and I knew it was very nice and beautiful, and just offered a lot of opportunities. And so after the bachelor in Vienna, where I went to and I knew a few people, and I was like, okay, I'm not completely alone, I felt more safe going to Vienna as a first step. And then after that, I finally was brave enough to go to Switzerland. So I had both, and it was a good decision. Really great country for studying as well. Great universities. Okay, I'm just checking my notes. Finished med school in Italy. No, so I finished my college, high school, those sort of things in Italy, north of Italy. And then I did my bachelor's in Vienna. And then I did my master's in Switzerland. And after that, I did some travels and ended up in Melbourne in Australia to do an internship, which now developed into a full-time job. That's short story. So nothing with medicine. I just did a very basic classic bachelor's of biology and specialized in anthropology in Vienna. And then because I thought neuroscience was a bit more future-oriented and a bit more opportunities, but similar to what I liked in anthropology, which is behavior and evolution and psychology and biology mix, that was always my favorite. So I decided to go to Switzerland and do a neuroscience degree there. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end it with this because it was about an hour now. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for tuning in, whatever time it is for you today on a Monday, Sunday. And definitely, yeah, don't hesitate to go check out my channel and text me there if there's anything more coming up. And I'll now probably go to do my science work, go to uni and work on my publication and see what I have to do there. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I enjoyed it too very much. And thanks to the Addictive Brain to give me this opportunity. Thank you too for your time. Thanks. Cool. I'm really glad that you liked it. And yeah, if you can think about anything else, let me know. And I'll share this now on the story, so it will be available for 24 hours. And I think even later in the Addictive Brain channels. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a great day or night as well. And I'll try and share this now to the story. Say end.